I'm going slideless today. So I was going to give a talk on data modeling, but I'm kind of bored of talking about data modeling, and I think quite a few people have seen my talk I was going to give. So I've been thinking a lot about garbage. So maybe I'm trashy, I don't know. But who's heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Okay, so this side of the room. I'm curious why this side hasn't. So it's interesting, right? So some of the stats on this thing. So basically, it's this giant pile of garbage that stretches from Asia to North America across the Pacific. 99% of it is plastic. Some interesting stats. It's 1.6 million square kilometers, pretty big. And it's about 1.8 trillion pieces of trash. So that's quite a bit, right? Why am I thinking about this? I'm thinking about this in terms of what we're actually doing with AI right now. So who's heard of the term slop? A few people? Why is it the side of the room that always answers affirmatively? I don't know. Anyway, raise your hands just to humor me over there. But slop is basically a description of low quality media, right? So you can think of nowadays, when you look at maybe images that people have made with ChatGPT or Gemini, you see these images. They're very, they're kind of saccharine looking, I suppose, right? Like you can definitely tell AI-generated images or AI-generated text, right? Like LLMs spitting out stuff. Who's had a coworker send them an email with, you swear it was sent by ChatGPT? Of course, these people over here. Right. So, but I think what we're going to start seeing now, as it pertains to the data space in particular, is what I call the Great Pacific Garbage Patch of data slop. We're very soon, because of the feedback loops that we have with AI systems and models retraining on data, pretty soon we're going to find ourselves in a very peculiar situation where we're going to face the equivalent of this Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or the Great EU Garbage Patch. I don't know which one. So there's a few types of slop I will talk about right now, and this will make sense in a bit. There's data, there's code, and then there's people in process slop. So let's get into this. Who feels like their corporate data sets are amazing and you would just throw a large language model on top of them right now? Raise your hand. Nobody? Okay. I've asked this question to tens of thousands of people around the world, and I still have not. I think one person actually raised their hand, and that was pretty cool, but they were also working on a project that was greenfield, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, I mean, data is overwhelmingly a disaster. I find it interesting that when you talk to old timers in the business, people who have been around for a long time, like Chris, he's been around since like the 1800s or something. But thank you for your contributions to the industry, Chris. We have a museum of fossils made for you. But it's interesting because the same problems that the old timers describe are still the same problems we deal with now, right? People, process, some technology, and now you throw in algorithms into this, right? So the first type of slop is data slop, right? And this comes back to the central fact that we're trying to cram AI on top of questionable data, right? I think that the overwhelming question is, who feels like they do business intelligence and reporting well in their companies right now? Raise your hand. One person, you're kind of like, but you work in web data though, so it's yeah, your data is like awesome, yeah. but no, but the central question, and this is sort of the theme of the data modeling talk that I've been giving around the world, was, if there's a time when we need to pay attention to data, I would hope that it's now, right? You have all the money in the world, trillions of dollars, right? Governments, companies investing tons of money into data centers, into the capabilities of AI. But it's still, when you take it back to the companies, the underlying ingredients aren't there. And the investment is interesting, right? So if you go back to BI, adoption is still 25%. This has been the running stat for like 20, 30 years. BI tool adoption has been around 20%. The other running stat is 80% of initiatives fail. Who's heard of this number? Right? It's the old trope, 80%. I don't know where this number comes from, but seemingly, no matter if you're talking about BI, tech, AI now, the Rand did a survey in August of last year where they estimated that 80% of AI initiatives fail, surprisingly enough. Boston Consulting Group on October 24th released another survey of 1,000 leaders where they said 74% of businesses aren't ready for AI adoption. And they broke it down even further, and this is interesting. 70% of it comes back to, 70% of the problems, challenges come back to people, process. 20% was the tech. And then finally, the last 10% were the algorithms. So same as it ever was, right? And so again, the trick to this though is, who's doing AI in their companies, by the way, right now, in some capacity? So everyone, how do you feel it's going? Like, great, super, good, okay. I would have people stand, but you've already done that. That's your exercise for the day, so your Apple Watch might start tricking you. But yeah, so you couple this with the fact that now we're going to be ingesting. Now we have chatbots in companies. These are going to be integrated with internal data sources, either through RAG or something else. And the interesting thing is you're going to start seeing this feedback loop of data where you either have good quality embeddings, if you're familiar with that term, or you're going to have this sea of slop of just really terrible embeddings. But the problem with embeddings is they're all just numbers. So how do you know what they are? You can't visually go look at a matrix or a vector and understand what it is. And this is one of the big problems. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to keep retraining our data, and it's going to get progressively worse. Who's heard of model collapse? Few people? Yeah, this is one of the things that people are studying right now. It's a notion that trying to train on synthetic data, for example, introduces a feedback loop into models, and the models get progressively worse and worse and worse. I suspect this is going to start happening in companies really soon. And so the quality of the AI is going to continue diminishing. So that's data slop. Next is code slop. Who codes or has coded in their life? Most people, great. And I really wanted this to resonate with practitioners here. Who's using AI copilots right now for their, right, a lot of people, I use them all the time. Do you like them? They're awesome. How long have you all been coding though? I'm guessing maybe a while, right? So you kind of, 1800s, yeah, it's a while. But I'm guessing that because you're, practitioners, you know what to look for. You've been doing this for a while. You know that if AI produces an output that seems almost correct but isn't, you would know either how to debug it or how to identify that it's wrong. The problem is, and I keep hearing this, like, oh, we're going to unlock a world of possibilities for people to learn how to code and build apps. I'm like, that's a terrible idea. So you can scaffold, I think, pretty interesting POCs or MVPs for apps. But the issue is, how do you know, and I think that the running stat is going to take you maybe 70% of the way there. If you don't know what you're doing, the other 30%, that's the hard part. That's actually where you become a professional programmer, right? I think everyone at some point or another can attest to that. Who's had to deal with hard problems and felt that they learned a lot from that, right? Everybody. This is why you're here. So you can listen to people like us blab all day. But this is it, right? It's this a sense that, and you hear some interesting things from the big tech companies, like AI is at the point where we can just lay off a bunch of engineers, and then AI can do the thing. And then Zuckerberg gets on, along with Mark Benioff recently, and says, oh, well, we don't need to hire any mid-level engineers anymore because AI is good enough that it will do all the work. Maybe it will. I don't know. I don't work at these companies. Maybe they have this secret sauce. But I know enough people at these companies where I feel like that might have been a bit of an exaggeration. But that's the message that's happening right now, right? You're simultaneously hearing that we're going to unlock a lot of code, but we won't have enough engineers to do it. And this comes back to maybe the third point, right? And this comes back to the garbage patch, which was in our field, I think there used to be a sense of craftsmanship to what we would do, right? A sense of pride. I walk around, the village here, and there's old buildings. These were put together back in the day, I think, when craftsmanship and quality were things that mattered, right? The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, on the other hand, is a result of a disposable culture. What's that? Agile. Well, we'll get into this. Yeah. So it's interesting that simultaneously, in a world where we have lean manufacturing, in a world where we're able to produce abundance, we produce so much waste, which was actually one of the cardinal sins of lean, right? And if you reflect on our practice, starting with DevOps, for example, DevOps is basically lean applied to software craftsmanship, right? Then you have data ops and now ML ops and LLM ops and what's that? Ops, FinOps. And this is something I've been writing about in my Substacks a lot, but it's an interesting paradox we're in as an industry, and we've been here for a bit. But the temptation to move faster and faster and faster and, quote, deliver value is at the expense of quality. Who feels that they're doing better work today than they were yesterday? Few people? That's good. And who feels like they're pressured to do more and more, faster and faster every single day? A lot of people, right. This is something where I feel like when we go back to the issues of software engineers and people who write code, they're expected to do a lot more with a lot less, right? And this is actually, I think, sort of the punchline here, is that we have a chance to actually get our craft back, ironically enough, with AI. But I think it's gonna require a bit of adjustment. I think that leadership right now, leadership being leadership. There's this, who feels like the leaders of their company really want to push AI right now, like no matter what? It seems like no matter the companies I talk to, there's this sense that if we're not doing AI, we're going to be left behind, and we'll be dinosaurs, like Chris Tab over here. And it might be true, I don't know. But the thing is that what I don't see is the investment and the knowledge and skills and I think the craft and giving people space to do good work. At least in America, the pressure is get a co-pilot, crank out about 10 times more code than you used to, and that's sufficient. So now we're back to the lines of code argument that were in the 90s and 2000s. And so this is the crux that we're in right now. I am concerned as an industry that we run the risk of potentially moving backwards rather than forwards, precisely at the time when we can work with these with AI and I think produce quality products. But it comes back to the notion of quality, right? And this comes back to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which we've lost the sense of craftsmanship. We've lost a sense of quality. It's all about cranking out code, cranking out technical debt. I think a lot of companies here exist precisely because people commit a lot of crimes and sins with their data, and you're here to patch it up. But I think there's a lot of things that we could benefit from AI as well. There's one person I'm helping with, just a data migration and code migration, right? I think it's like 4,000 SSIS jobs. And they want to migrate them to DBT. This sounds like a hellscape. Who's done code migrations before? Did you like it? Love it? It's a fountain of youth. But these are the sorts of things I think, like, if we step back and if we adopt different approaches and different ways of thinking about how we're going to use AI, not just supplement us writing more code, but I think to help reduce toil, namely migrations, for example. I think, Carl, you're doing a lot of stuff with that right now. You look healthier. It's good. But yeah, so what's that? Okay. So anyway, yeah, I think just the punchline of this AI is it's a solution. It's also potentially part of what might be a very big problem coming soon. So the thing I'd urge you is that, take your craft seriously. I would say learn new skills, learn new languages, right? I think it's easier than ever to learn things precisely because you have, code gen, you have ChatGPT. It's awesome. I'm writing more code now than I ever have before. It's awesome. I love it. But at the same time, invest in quality. This is the one thing where I feel like we cargo cult a lot of practices like Agile, for example. Somebody said Agile earlier. I think that's become a 4-letter word, at least in the States. Nobody believes it anymore. The notion of Agile was continuous delivery of high quality things. I think we have continuous delivery of crap. It's fragile. Fragile, yeah, I like that. And so these are the practices, right? I would say we need to also review the way we do things. The way we're doing things isn't going to adapt to the new world. It runs the risk of doing dumber things faster and faster and faster and actually growing more technical debt, not reducing it. And so, yeah, the takeaway is yeah, you use AI as a tool. I think the power is in your hands. It's an exciting time to be a practitioner, to be a leader, and to invest things in the right way. So thanks, Soup. People have time for a break, too.